Welcome to lesson 56, fractions, decimals, and percents, part 1. So now we're going to get into comparing these three. They're all the same. Fractions, decimals, and percents deal with division. So your division has to be strong. So go back and practice some division and you'll be more successful at dealing with fractions, decimals, and percents. There's objective. Okay, so we want to rename 12.5% as a fraction and a decimal. So you get 12. Let me turn the pen on so I don't move the screen. You get 12 and 1/2 over 100, basically. Now you got a fraction within a fraction. You get 12.5 within 100. We know we cannot have decimals in a fraction. So what we have to do is multiply by 10 over 10, which gives you 125 over 1,000. Whenever you have decimals, if you multiply, divide by 10, you just move the decimal. That's all you got to do. So now that we have that, so let's take 12.5 and divide it by 100. So here's a little trick with dividing by tens, hundreds, thousands, multiples of 10. If you're dividing by 100, the decimal point is going left. And however many zeros there are is how many you move. So let's pick this up next slide. I should have started this here. 12.5 divided by 100. So there are 2 zeros, which means the decimal goes left 1, 2. So you get 0.125. And what does this mean? This is important when you're dealing with loans. We've seen in fractions and converting fractions, rational numbers, that 0.125 is 1/8. So if you get a loan and somebody is talking about 1/8 of a point, they're really talking about 1/8 of a percent, which is 0.125 added on to the interest. So you might hear that at some point in your life, talking about percentage points, and they drop the word percent and they just talk about points. So that's its application in life. Name 14.25 as a percent and a fraction. So I'm going to do the percent on this page, and I'll do the fraction on the next page. So there are 2 ways we can do this. We can do, let's deal with the percentage. We know that we have to divide by 100. So 14.25, we have to divide by 100. And when we divide by 100, the decimal moves left once and twice. So 0.1425. That's renaming 14.25 as a percent. You may also recognize 14.25 is 14 1/4 over 100. Or we can leave it as 14.25 and divide it by 100, but you can't have decimals. So now we know we have to go 2 spots. We have to multiply by 100. And whenever you multiply, the decimal moves right. And we have 2 zeros. It goes 1, 2 spots. And so now 1425 becomes a whole number. And 100 times 100, we got 4 zeros. We get 10,000. 4 zeros. So that's renaming 14 1/4 or 14.25 as a percent and a fraction. Okay, so write 3/8 as a decimal and a percent. So we know how to turn 3/8 into a decimal. 3 over 8 goes into 3, and it's a decimal. because 8 goes into 3 0 times. And what we got? 3. 3 times 8 is 24. 60. 7 times 8 is 56. Subtracted, we get 4. 5 times 8 is 40. There we go. So 3/8 as a decimal is 0.375. And so now you can write 3/8%, or you can take that decimal 0.375, multiply it by 100, because to go from a decimal to a percent, you multiply by 100, which means you move the decimal point 1, 2 spaces, you get 37.5%. To go from a percent to a decimal, you divide by 100. So it's just going back and forth between the two. And those are our examples for this lesson. See me at the end of the video for the recap. Okay, so rename 0.2 as a fraction and a percent. So 2/10 as a fraction. 2 over 10, we got to reduce the fraction, simplify it, is 1/5. So 1/5 is 0.2. And 0.2 as a percent. You got to multiply by 100, which means we move the decimal point once, then twice, which equals 20%. Rename 10 and an eighth as a fraction and a percent. So let's start with the fraction first. 10.125. So the 5 is in the thousands place, so we know we're going to be multiplying by 1,000. And percent means divide by 100. So now to make the numerator or the top a whole number, we got to multiply by 1,000 over 1,000. And it's so easy multiplying by multiples of 10, because all you got to do is move the decimal. So you got 3 zeros, you move it 3 places. Now you got a whole number up top. And the beautiful part about multiplying by zeros, I should have did a lesson on this, is you just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros. And so now let's do it as a percent. To go from a decimal to a percentage, you got to multiply by 100, and you get 1012.5%. Now, in reality, can you have percents bigger than 100? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. This means that the number multiplies by a lot. So 100% is actually multiplying something by 2 by itself. We'll get to that in a later lesson. You can have percents smaller than 1 and greater than 100. So write 5/8 as a decimal and a percent. So 5/8, 8 goes into 5 0 times. Put your decimal on top of the house. 48, 6 is 48. 2 0 0. 2 is 16. 4. We get 0. So as a decimal, 5/8 is 0.625. And then as a percent, you just multiply by 100. So this is our answer as a decimal. Then to make it a percent, we're going to multiply by 100, and we get 62.5%. Okay, so this is our final problem for this lesson. Fractions, decimals, and percentages are the same thing. This is another one of those lessons that maybe teachers don't get a chance to get to, but is very important to understand when relating how numbers work. So thank you for watching this video. Subscribe to this channel, and I will see you in the next one. And remember, watch these, not just one lesson, but watch the whole series of percentages, because I get into all kinds of aspects of dealing with percentages for you. So thank you again, and we'll see you in the next video.